Let's go.
Hello, hello. You're listening to the Goggler podcast. Ian Bahir and Uma with you. Coming at you in a week when Spider-Man defied pandemic odds and broke all box office records. Crazy. Crazy.
We're just going straight into the news, huh?
Well, no, not quite. I mean, I just thought I'm still in shock over the amount of money that this movie made when cinemas are still at half capacity.
And imagine what the take would have been had it not been on 50% capacity, right? I think they would have blown. Who's is Avatar still in the lead?
Endgame.
No,
is
Endgame.
still, I mean,
Endgame. Sorry.
If you don't adjust for inflation and all that, I'm still not sure how that works exactly. But
it was only a couple of years
Endgame
ago.
is still in the leads.
But Infinity, but No Way Home has overtaken Infinity War.
Yes, it has.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
But before we get into the news, it's Christmas is coming up, so Merry Christmas. This will be, I think, our last podcast before Christmas and the New Year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, hope you guys have a good holiday. What do you guys got planned? I'm off to Kuching for Christmas.
You never tell house robbers and burglars when you're going to be out of your house.
Well, there's still people in the house. It's just me that's going.
For those who don't know, your wife's not going with you?
She's going to. But yeah, there are other people here.
For those that don't know, that's not a horror setup. There's always someone in Uma's house.
Jang, jang, jang. It just means if you're sending cake, someone will be here to get it.
They always have a cake recipient available.
Exactly. This is the most important thing for Amazon packages and cake.
Yeah, because my family don't always have someone at home. So one of my Amazon packages, and I'm naming and shaming, yes, ended up on the side entrance, like on top of an archway.
Yeah.
Crammed in somewhere.
Out of view.
Yeah, and one didn't arrive at all.
Oh.
Huh.
Yeah, but I talked to a chatbot, and it was the nicest chatbot experience I've ever had. This is not sponsored, so I give it and I take it away. You know what I mean? They just said like, all right, then we'll give you a replacement. Have you checked your safe spaces? And it's like, inside the house is the safe space. You don't leave stuff outside on the road or the path. It's a big wide. I mean, and also it's a very wide fronted house. So there's like, it's like one of those hidden puddle games. There's a lot of places you could hide shit.
Dude, I still don't get it, right? In England and in the US, every time I see those videos and people just dump packages all over the place.
It used to be just the US. It used to be just US. Use the post office. Seriously, fuck.
Right?
Fuck these guys' delivery. It's so bad.
It's like, why are you so trusting?
They're not trusting.
In Malaysia,
they're
that
not
thing
trusting.
is gone.
No, they're not trusting. That's the point. People are stealing this stuff all the time. It's that they have quotas to get to and they don't have time to knock and wait.
Right. Yeah.
And that's why I have to seriously consider thinking about ordering from somewhere else because it's just like it's not good enough. But anyway.
What about you, Bahe? You've got plans?
No, just gonna be. Well, no, hang on. Christmas. Yeah, Christmas is Christmas lunch at my parents, and then just here, really, just at home.
Go to the beach.
Nice,
go to Langkawi.
Full turkey with all the trimmings.
I think we're having turkey, but I don't know if it's a full turkey. I think we're ordering like a half turkey, maybe.
Just a half.
Just a half.
Yeah, because I mean, I say half turkey, but that means there's also like roast lamb and other stuff. So, so my mom found a place that had sort of two packages. It's like either have a whole roast turkey or half a turkey with like roast lamb and other stuff. So she decided to go with the other one. So there's range.
Variety, range. It's important.
Variety. Yeah.
Most importantly, Yorkshire puddings.
I don't know if anybody does. I don't know many.
Some places do.
Some places on Shankat do, but
sometimes it's a bit soggy.
Yeah,
when
they don't.
It gets to you.
They don't survive delivery very well.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
sure they don't. Yeah.
All right.
But also, Yorkshire pudding is not a prerequisite for my Christmas. We never do that for Christmas.
It's a very English thing, right?
Yeah. Yorkshire, it's in the name. Yeah.
But it's not even a Christmas thing. I normally have it during like a Sunday.
Yorkshire pudding is something you can have every day.
Probably shouldn't though.
With gravy, with jam, with whatever you want.
Jam. Never tried it with jam.
Have you not tried Yorkshire pudding and jam?
No.
Forget talk about the Matrix. So this is we got a lot to talk about here.
This is where hang on, we're right here right now. Yeah. No jam. Ooh. Weird.
There you go. That's your Christmas experiment. All right. Before we get into the news and more Spidey chatter, we're going to be reviewing 3 films today: The King's Man, which is the new Matthew Vaughan spin-off to Kingsman, Don't Look Up, and The Matrix Resurrections, which we will get to right at the end. But first, back to Spider-Man. First weekend, 253 million domestic gross. As it stands, according to Box Office Mojo, I think that's including Monday's taking. Global is 638 million US dollars in 5 days.
Yeah.
5 days. And
Omicron is running rampant.
Oh, rampant all over the place. Just as a
Okay.
comparison, Homecoming took 117 million and Far From Home took 92.6 million.
Wow.
Yeah. This opening weekend. So I remember that when Far From Home came out, obviously it was just after Endgame. And I remember some analysts doing the whole superhero fatigue thing, blah, 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 blah. But I have to say, I think maybe there was some truth there because of the size of Endgame and the hype of Endgame. And then, 2 years later into a pandemic, we haven't had something this big. Like, No Way Home is bigger than Shang-Chi, Black Widow, and Eternals, right? With regards to Benedict Cumberbatch and scale and people in the movie and
But
etc.
also just like brand recognition, right? Character
Yeah,
recognition
way
as
better.
well. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I was talking to people here and I was talking to you guys as well about the Spider-Man brand recognition. And, because the Star had the Amazing Spider-Man strip for 30, 40 years, it's still there.
Yeah.
And so, every generation knows who Spider-Man is, more so than Batman, Superman, Iron Man, right?
Yeah, they've all had their Fox TV Kids cartoon, right? There's been multiple versions.
Yes, that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was reading something and I had to double check, and there was one in 2008 I didn't know about that was very well regarded. It was there was something writing about the MTV series, which only lasted one season and seemed to be more ultimate-y, but then they kind of seemed to halfway. And then the next one after that, I think, which was spectacular, I'd never heard of, which was because it's 2008. I was kind of busy
I don't know that one.
here.
There's so many, dude.
Yeah.
If you just log onto Disney Plus, and then I think they've got a Spider-Man tab. There's so many cartoons I've never seen.
Have they got and his Amazing Spider Friends? Because that's my jam from the original one with Iceman and Firestar.
And Firestar. So US one has it. I haven't checked if Malaysian Hotstar has Spider-Man and his Amazing Friends.
Yeah, that was where I got the dream.
I don't know that one.
The dream I'm still
it's like
pursuing.
Three's Company Spider-Man. They're all
Yeah,
living in
they live in an apartment,
together.
and you push over the statue, and all the furniture flips over, and it's all this
Yes.
equipment they never use.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, dude, it was so good.
Oh man, I don't know that one. Oh, cool.
It's old.
It's old, very, very old. That's the one I grew up watching on TV as well over here. So, no, I think I walked into, I'm convinced that the One Utama parking lot is full at the moment because of Spider-Man. I walked into the cinema the other day and I'm like, oh crap, I'm going to get Omicron. It was, I haven't seen the cinema like that in 2 years.
It's Christmas.
It's great.
This is the first time I think people with the 97% vaccination rate here now,
Yes.
and boosters rolling out. This is the first
Boosters rolling
time,
out.
even with the sales that they've had, post lockdown sales, you've seen people out, or I don't know, maybe there were more people out. We forgot to go out. We missed all those sales. We missed all those bargains. But we've had to be out and about this time, and there's 50% sales off everywhere, and Malaysians love sales.
Yeah. But also the screenings are full. I went for a Friday afternoon screening, which I thought, well, you know what? People are still at work. Nope, they're all at Spider-Man.
I went for Monday afternoon IMAX, and okay, we were sitting in the nice seats, so maybe those are booked per household. You're sitting right beside someone, that's okay. But
Yeah.
I didn't see an awful lot of social distancing on the other seats. Maybe that's just me. But yeah, that was packed.
Yeah?
That was full. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no,
Yeah.
but I think it was GSA. They were selling tickets in batches of 4s and 8s.
Yes.
So
For
you can buy them
as a household, you can go
as
in.
a household, so you can buy a block of 4 seats and 8 seats. So
And kids
They
can go
just
again
rolled
as
that
well,
out.
right?
yeah,
Kids can go again, and also now
That's gotta help.
because it's gone into phase 4. The government regulations about buying food online has been lifted, so now you can actually buy food at the counter directly.
Oh yeah.
Just got lifted 4 days ago, something like that. Yeah.
MCU and Malaysia, phase 4.
Phase 4.
yeah.
We have to do that Dylan, you son of a bitch gif of that, or the meme of that.
But no, I mean, I think it's interesting. I'm always excited. I mean, I don't care how much money Sony makes, but I'm always excited when there's a mass group of people who are all seeing this thing, this one cultural thing at once, right? Because it's quite exciting whenever that happens, whether it was Tiger King or
Something we like.
Game of Thrones, Game of Thrones or something. It's been a while since we've had that. I mean, and we noticed this because we started Goggler just before the pandemic hit, And the one thing about not having cinema movies is there was never a critical mass of people watching one thing at the same time.
Yeah.
Everyone's watching something different on Amazon or
Yeah.
Netflix.
Yeah.
And so those rare moments, like, yeah, whenever these big movies come out, we had it a little bit with Tenet, and of course Mortal Kombat. But
Say it properly.
But yeah, this is Mortal Kombat. But yeah, Spider-Man has. It made me feel the same way Endgame did. Like, I haven't heard this much cheering and whooping in a cinema, so it's fun.
Did you get cheering and whooping in the Friday
I
screening?
did in the regular screen.
Oh, you did.
I didn't. We got
okay.
like the brick scene. You know the brick scene?
Yeah.
Yes.
Nothing. Absolutely
Same.
nothing. And I was
Same.
like, I was
telling Uma.
I was almost
Oh.
standing up, going like,
Like,
what the hell?
What the fuck?
What the hell, guy? Come on!
The only one that gasped in my hall, which was a semi-full hall, was my wife. You know?
Right.
So I was just like, man, you guys, what is going on right now? Are we not watching the same film? It's
That's
weird.
interesting. Okay, so mine was at Wanatama IMAX on a Friday afternoon, and yes, there was whooping, clapping. The lady next was just sobbing, sobbing at certain bits, and I was just
I
like,
think the
"Whoa,
mask
all
makes
right."
it louder as well. It kind of
Yeah, I
echoes a
think
bit.
so.
And it's really awkward when you have a soggy mask.
So we had good reactions, and there were lots of kids, and the kids were incredibly well behaved as well. No one was kicking chairs, as far as I know, and
Congratulations,
the kids were like, ooh, and like, yeah, you could hear them, and that was really cool.
None of them were asking you. None of them were like, "Daddy, who's the youth pastor?"
Yeah, no, none of that.
Because
So
those, I think there might have been
those
a bit
kids
of
have been raised well. Yeah.
I mean, the other side, the flip side to this is to the discourse on film Twitter. I'm doing air quotes because everyone was like, "Is this a bad thing for cinema overall? Because is this some trade magazines, because they're clinging on for dear life, they're saying, oh, cinema's back. It's like, well, we'll see how The Matrix does, right? Or the next movie that might do this big there might be nothing does this big or even approaches this bigness until the Batman in March, right? Was one thing I saw.
Maybe, yeah.
But people just saying like, West Side Story hasn't done well. The French Dispatch didn't do well, or I can't remember.
It didn't.
There was a list of movies where it's like people. They're not even making they're not going to make Avengers money, but they're not even making Wes Anderson money anymore. You know what I mean?
But I don't know. When I think about West Side Story, it's a double whammy, right? In the sense that musicals are a hard sell anyway, period. But then also the target demographic are probably more cautious to get out to the cinemas, because when I was looking at the target demographic for West Side Stories, it was older women being the primary target, or they are the primary audience that goes to see musicals anyway.
And Bahir.
And by
Bahir.
Sorry, you too.
But, yeah. We are just older women.
sounds about right. Yeah, no, completely agree.
And they are not going out because of Omicron and all this stuff. They're a little more cautious about making their decisions on what to watch in the big screen. Meanwhile, Spider-Man Kids. I mean, this is what we were speaking to our distributor friends, and early on in I think cinemas open end of phase 2 or phase 3, something like that, right, in Malaysia.
Something like that, yeah.
And they were saying, yeah, it's great that we can get movies out there again, but we really need the kids. Like in Malaysia, before, if the teenagers weren't going to the cinemas.
Sorry, they sound like that evil child catcher from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. We need the children.
Yeah, because also the kids clearly have a lot more pocket money than I did. Are the ones who watch it once, twice, 3, 4,
No, but
5,
they're the ones who nag their parents. I think when they say the kids, it's like you mean the teenage demo, is it?
The teenage demo.
Yeah,
So,
I mean that's what it was interesting. I think one of the last times I went to get a haircut. Oh, was it the public holiday, the football public holiday a while back?
Right.
And it was like it was like seeing like a new dinosaur in Jurassic Park. There were like teenagers everywhere shopping. I was like, wow,
Everywhere, I
I haven't
know.
seen these creatures in quite some time.
I think
people are dating.
I think it's also the flip of the coin, the other side is the fact that a lot of these movies, especially, well, not necessarily here, but they will show up immediately on streaming services, right? Like Matrix opens on the 22nd, but it shows up
Friday.
On the
HBO
Friday.
Max on the Friday. So it's just literally people are gonna go with COVID flying around and all that. I'm just like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna wait.
And
I'm
Spider-Man
usually gonna wait
did it,
12
right?
hours for it to show up. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I think
I think that
doesn't
makes a big
help at
difference.
all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
I
So
do
think,
wonder.
in fact,
Go ahead.
sorry, I think in fact like WB are shooting themselves in the foot for doing shit like that. And
Well, they committed to it, and then they kind of overcommitted to it. And I think they paid the bonuses already, so they're like, "Fuck it, we're doing it anyway. We'll finish out 2021.
Yeah.
We'll move
Yeah,
on." to
especially
2022.
for something like The Matrix, right? Because, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But also, you've got the 20-year gap between when it first came out and now. So you have an entire generation that probably didn't see the first 3 movies. It's not as hype worthy anymore as something like Spider-Man, where it's been kept in the consciousness for constantly throughout.
Yeah.
Contractually.
And contractually, gotta make a movie every 2 years.
Is it 2? I thought it was 5.
Oh, is it 5? Okay. And then now with all the hype in the news about Omicron going on in the US, people are going to be like, well, if we can watch it on Max, then
I think they've cancelled the Times Square.
Oh, shit, did they?
Ball. I think I just saw that this morning. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
All right.
So
One thing about West Side
that's
Story, though, I know it's like Spielberg's name is not like, Jaws is a long time ago, and Jaws is a great blockbuster for people who were, know, for that demo we talked about, but like 50 years ago. What I wonder is, do you think West Side Story would have been a hit if it had been contemporized?
No.
Because do you think that because that you don't see an awful lot of movies like musicals
period
set in that period,
Yeah,
No,
no,
but
you're right.
like,
It's not high school musical, the series, the movie, the musical. What was it? How'd that go?
Yeah. No, but like even In the Heights didn't do too well either.
Yeah.
No, it didn't.
Yeah.
So I don't know if making it contemporary would change that much.
I think
So
it's
is
a
it-
musical problem.
I just think it's a musical thing.
It's the fetch thing. Stop trying to make musicals happen.
No, keep making musicals happen.
Keep making
Don't-
musicals. Just
stop-
don't make them
stop.
for 200 million, right?
Yeah.
Make them
Yeah,
for
stop expecting-
Make them for
stop-
wait.
no
What,
expectations,
I
yeah.
keep forgetting. Where was Come From Away? Come From Away was Apple, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Keep making them for streaming services. That seems to be that's a
Yeah.
great location for them.
Yeah, I mean Hamilton was great.
Yeah, that's the other one. That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's you're right, Ian, in that there's a literal market cap on the interest for those kind of films, right? Making them 200 million is just not going to go anymore. It doesn't make sense.
Until in 3 years' time, when we eventually get Rogers the Musical, the movie, that's going to happen, and it's going to be eventually.
That's
Disney
going to be
like,
$1 billion.
Disney's going to be like, it's like there's a niche holding out against our cultural hegemony over here. The superhero
That's true.
musical. We must claim that land.
Yeah.
But yeah, let us know what you think about Spider-Man No Way Home. You can reach out in all the usual ways. Also, don't forget to check out our reviews, completely spoiler-free, on both the podcast and goggler.my. There was a new trailer that dropped just this week, which was very interesting. It's a new Robert Eggers movie. Of course, he did The Witch, and The Lighthouse. It's called The Northman, and it just has an incredible cast: Alexander Skarsgård, Nicole Kidman, Claes Bang, Anya Taylor-Joy, Ethan Hawke, Bjork, and Willem Dafoe.
I didn't see Ethan Hawke in there. Or is he just one of those beardy people? I don't know.
I think everyone is a beardy person. It took me a
Ethan
while to
Hawke's the
recognize
father.
Alexander Skarsgård.
Oh, is he?
Oh, is he?
Yeah, because it's like
Didn't recognize him
Willem
at
Dafoe's in it for like a second, and he's doing the Brave thing of "Can you change your fate?" and then he's gone. I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's
It's Assassin's
It's a
Creed
Viking-
Valhalla, the movie.
correct. It's a Viking revenge thriller, right?
Yeah.
He's got this line, which runs through the thing: "I will avenge you, father. I will save you, mother. I will kill you, Fjolnir." And I'm just like,
Don't forget the
"My name
milk."
is Inigo Montoya.
Yeah. Oh, it's perfectly propulsive. But I think there's a point at the beginning of this movie when the gates open, like there's a car or something. When like it shows it's a whip pan, like a horizontal whip pan across like grey, miserable Scandinavian Middle Ages.
Yeah.
And there's a thing of a gate opening and stuff like that. And there's a moment where it's like there's multiple things happening in this scene where it's like, no one makes movies like this anymore. Is the first thing. The second thing is like, is this Eric the Viking? Like it kind of has those opening minutes with the kid running around. It kind of has this weird, like you could expect a joke in any of those scenes or some slapstick to happen, and then He-Man turns up.
I think it's also because there are very few Viking movies, and also Eric the Viking has left such an indelible impact on our brains.
But it is like,
I don't know. I mean,
but nobody, like even The Witch and The Lighthouse. I still haven't gotten around to watching The Lighthouse, seeing as it's on HBO. But like this. It doesn't look like the Assassin's Creed Valhalla is the only thing to compare it to because the 13th Warrior was a long time ago, and even that wasn't this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's all sorts of
That
weird.
was far more Hollywood mainstream, right?
Yeah, and even that didn't do well. So it's like, how did he get money for this, and can we talk to them?
Yeah.
They obviously someone is just handing out checks.
Also,
I don't know. When I saw the trailer, I wouldn't say it didn't make me want to dive into it.
Yeah.
Like I'm
oh
curious.
really? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Are you still working through the trauma of Vikingdom?
I am now. I am now.
It literally just occurred to me.
I just didn't. Well, again, I'll be honest. It's a fucking trailer, right?
Yeah.
We're judging. I'm not judging a film based on trailer, but the trailer didn't grab me the way something like Lamb did. You know,
Right.
This is just like, I know they're the apples and oranges, but like this trailer was just like, okay, cool. It's like you said, Umar, it's a Viking Norse revenge film set in that time, and I'm just like, okay.
It's Hamlet.
That's it. The visuals kind of grabbed me because of like the way it was shot, the way it looks is not something. It's not something you see. I mean,
how do you know? How do you know he's not a king? He's not covered in shit because everyone else is.
Correct. And also, it's one of those things where you can watch it and you're like, there are maybe 3 people that make movies like this, and Robert Eggers is one of them. This might be a Robert Eggers movie. Also, it's got Anya Taylor-Joy, so it's probably a Robert Eggers movie.
Yeah,
but,
and he has the strength to break men, and she has the cunning to break their minds. And it's like, when our powers combine, we're gonna fuck shit up.
Also, funny you mentioned Lamb, but hey, it's written by the same guy. It's written by Sion, who I know. So I need to reach out to this guy again.
Yeah.
And be like, mate, you're writing movies left, right, and center.
I mean, we haven't seen Lamb, but like, I don't.
But also, it fits. I think Sion is the go-to guy now for like Icelandic references. But Robert Eggers, I think there was an interview or there was something I saw a headline after watching the trailer. He was trying to make this as accurate as possible because he's Robert Eggers and he's not just going to make a 13th Warrior style action flick. He's probably going to lean into everything that makes this as accurate to Viking culture and history as possible, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, I'm keen. I'm really interested. The trailer got me keen. Yeah. It's called The Northman. All one word, The Northman. Check it out. Trailers on YouTube. We'll link to it from our podcast page, as always. All right, let's talk some movies. First up, The King's Man, which only opens in Malaysia on December 30th, but we got access to an early preview screening. This, of course, is Matthew Vaughan's spin-off series from his Kingsman movies. Matthew Vaughn, of course, did Layer Cake, Stardust, Kick-Ass, X-Men First Class. I was looking at Matthew Vaughan's filmography, and let me tell you, I've enjoyed all of his films.
Yeah, I forgot that he that was First Class, and he was supposed to do Days of Future Past, but then he bailed because
Then he bailed.
Yeah, but he's still an executive producer on that movie, and that's maybe not the next one. That's why that's so good.
Yeah, and he still got a story by credit on that one.
Yeah.
So this one is a prequel to Kingsman. Tells the story about how the Kingsman agency came to be. It's got Ray Fiennes, Gemma Arterton, Reese Ifans, Matthew Good, Tom Hollander, as Ian said in his review, Daniel Bruhl, Jimon Honsu, and of course the great Charles Dance, because he needs to be in any period piece movie.
Yeah.
Based in England, I think. Based in England, period piece, yeah.
And I think like Uma's face right there, I think that's us by here as like we saw Charles Dance and as other actors kept popping up because it's like you see the trailers, you see the 5 people we see there in the poster, and it's like there's Rasputin and the Jim Martin and Jim Hansu, and I think what's the other the son who guys like Conrad, Harris Dickinson. And you think, okay, it's straightforward, but then like the hits keep coming. There's just more and more actors. Like when I saw Daniel Bruhl, I was like, oh, I didn't know he was going to be in this.
Yes.
Right. So I didn't make it to the previous screening. The both of you watched it, and and you guys, I'm like, honestly, when I saw the trailers, my first thought was, okay, it's a Kingsman movie. They've given away most of the stuff in the trailers, but it seems like they learned from the big mistake they did in the Golden Circle. Yeah. Where the trailer gave away the fact that
Harry's back.
Harry's back, right? And I know Matthew Vaughn was really pissed off about that, and he's spoken out about giving away too much in trailers. So the movie is different. The movie is not in the trailer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's
cool.
not. Yeah,
There's one or
the
two
movie
scenes
is
that are
not in the trailer.
there's one or two scenes that are action scenes that I would have liked to have not seen in the trailer, but like the plot
Oh,
goes
okay.
places. There is, I think there's one. The plot goes places that you're like, what? I mean, the plot goes a lot of places. It goes all over Europe and to the US, and it goes there like really, really quickly. If there's one thing,
Yeah.
while it's nice that it does things we're not expecting, it does a lot of them, and it's kind of, I don't know about you here, but I found myself, I wrote this in the review, I was like, when does the movie start? Things are happening,
Yeah.
but it's not like we're seeing Pete, you know, like comparing it to Spider-Man a lot, but like we get those scenes of Peter, MJ, and Ned not getting into college, right? And you see the life of what happens when everyone knows who Spider-Man is. It's like this doesn't get to there for quite nearly halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like
So when I came out of this, I wasn't sure if I enjoyed myself because it took a long time to get going. And even when it got going, there was a bit of a start-stop when they suddenly went World War One.
Yeah, there's a bit where
Right.
they're sitting
You
on a
know-
train having tea, and it's almost like Ron Burgundy. We're like, well, that escalated quickly, and then it just keeps escalating, right?
And then it just keeps going. Right. So it's a motherfucking ride, this one, and it just goes. It's
Put that on a
realsies.
poster.
For realsies, like this, and I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't sure if I enjoyed it because there just so much happened. But by the end, it sort of slowly started to settle in. But my problem with it is the ending really sets up what comes up next.
Yeah,
Like
I
more movies. Okay.
yeah, I said that in
No,
my
but-
review where it's like,
yeah.
this is not the making of Kingsman. This is the events that happened that
That
precipitated
led to
the making of
the Kings
Kingsman.
of Kingsman.
Because I was like,
okay.
It felt like, yeah.
yeah, you don't
Yeah.
get to see like, you know, Q Branch or, you know, murder. Like there's very few hints of that. He's basically taking this as a jumping off point to I'm doing World War One, the movie.
Right.
Like,
But even then, it was just like I like that setup. I like the Matthew Vaughn linking everything.
yeah.
I thought that was sort of like a cute alternative reality of world events kind of thing.
Because all those guest stars are playing like political figures of the time, and there is
Yes.
what's not clear in the trailers as well is there is a shadowy cabal who is got like Spectre is out there and they've got a plan.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a dumbass fucking plan, by the way. What did it actually? I mean, it's a ludicrous foundation, but I think that's part of the fun for it, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like it doesn't
Well,
really
it's
matter
a
what they
comic book
want.
plan.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't. I don't know how he managed to get all these people involved, but sure. And then like when you start seeing, like Charles Dance is playing. I think it's early enough. Charles Dance is playing Lord Kitchener, right? The guy on the English
Yes.
posters who's like, we want you for the war.
Yes.
That classic
Yeah.
thing. And
Yeah.
that's just the tip of the iceberg. It starts going, you
Yes.
get more and more historical figures to the point you're like, him? Really? I mean, I guess you're casting him as a villain now, but like, okay.
I guess. Yeah. I mean,
I have to say,
it's a great ride.
I really enjoyed the Kingsman movies, both of them, right?
Yeah.
I thought the second one
Absolutely,
was a
yeah.
bit long or longer than necessary, but I still had fun with it.
Yeah.
And I love the comics as well. And I think just to go back to what you were saying, Ian, about the Northman, these kind of movies very few people make. Where
No one makes period action
Yeah.
movies.
no, but not
Sorry,
just
not
period
since
action
not
movies,
since the
but-
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Sorry, and there's a reason for
No.
that.
but not just period action movies, but also it doesn't take itself too seriously. Like it's a Bond flick that doesn't take itself too seriously.
Yes.
It's having fun with these things. It's having a mustache twirling Rasputin.
Yes.
You know, like
Yeah.
it's very comic book and fun. And I think that's the appeal, right?
It is, but there's also there's a heart within that actually I think makes it stronger. Like you're thinking you're getting that, and you are. There's a fight scene with Rasputin that is awesome. I don't know, is it the 1812 overture? There's some Tchaikovsky playing in that fight, and Rasputin is doing Russian dancing, you know?
Yeah.
While
While fighting.
fighting, and it is awesome. And then at the end, the two of us looked at each other at the end of this movie. We're like, "Oh, that was Rissifans." Like I've seen trailers. I've been looking at photos. Nothing made me thought this is the lizard. What?
We needed the closing. We needed the credits, right?
Yeah.
Just go like, holy shit. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's been right there in front of us the whole time. But like, there's a wildness to that. Like, what action movie opens in 1902 at like the Boer War?
Yeah.
You don't see the Boer War on TV on movies that often. And then also, I mean, the other thing that's also, you don't see enough Ray Fiennes action movies. This is like, what?
Yeah.
No,
No,
and what you said in your review, Ian, was right, because he plays older in Bond in No Time to Die.
Yeah.
But even from the trailers, he looks incredibly spry in this one.
Yeah, and like they even give him an injury so that he can't. It's like, you're like, well, of course he's not going to do all the fighting. I think he does it anyway. He just does. He just goes out there and does it.
there's also that great sequence prior to that Rasputin fight where it does the magical fix your problem situation.
Yeah, which is weird, but it's
Yeah.
all, I mean, there's an element of, I can't remember. Once you're a kid and you hear about this mad monk, not that you're a devotee to some dark art that's trying to bring a Hellboy across from a dark dimension or anything like that. But
Yes.
when you're a kid, you're like, Rasputin, like, you shot him how many times and threw him in a river? And I'm like, are they going to shoot him 3 times in this movie? Maybe, I don't know. This is weird because it's like they're pulling certain
Yeah.
things from it, and it's like,
they're pulling elements. Yeah.
yeah, and that was interesting. That it's like, oh, they're not making a decision about whether he was magical or not. It's just like things are happening. But yeah, Ray
Yeah.
Fiennes is like, he's every opportunity they have to get the son, Conrad, or I mean, Jimon Hunsu gets to this, but like I said in my review, also Jimon Hunsu is a year younger than Ray Fiennes. He just looks fucking awesome though, and I only realized as well watching this. But thinking about this, thinking about What If, thinking about everything he's done over the last years, like. Jimon Hunsu is just in it for the lols at this point, right? I mean, not in a bad way. He's only saying like, wait, there's a role where I'm not the main guy, so I probably don't have to be on set all the time. I get to have some of the best lines and have fun with action, and everyone's going to love my character. Yeah, sure. How many millions of dollars you want to pay me for this?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think the supporting cast, and I use that term loosely, is very good in this one. And it's but again, it goes back to that idea that this isn't the beginnings of the Kingsman. This is what happened to lead to the beginnings of the Kingsman, right?
Yeah.
So it really feels like these characters are going to come back,
Yeah,
which is great because we love them now already.
There's one
To
actor.
see them come up again.
Yeah, there's one actor who hasn't done a role this short. The American ambassador over here.
Yes.
Like
yes.
he hasn't done a role this short in probably about 30 years. But like when you see him and then there's an involvement at the end, you're like, yeah, they want him around for the sequel, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, he at first, like throughout the movie, I think he is only mentioned maybe 3/4 of the way through the film,
And he's only on screen like twice or 3 times.
Yeah, you see him a quick sort of cameo role in the first time, and then the second time towards the end of the film, you see him a little bit more, and you go, okay, there has to be a second one here, because the setup, all the characters, them sitting down at the Kingsman Taylor meeting room / place, sets all that up for what we see next. And I think I like you, Uma, I've been a real big fan of this movie series, and I'm looking forward to that. I'm glad. I'm really surprised, but I'm also very excited that there's now these 2 threads, these 2 Matthew Vaughn Kingsman threads.
And this one isn't based on a comic as well.
No, this one isn't. No, yeah. So because now, you've got these parallel, the same universe, same organization, but running
2 separate fronts.
Well.
It's a war on 2 fronts.
It'll just be interesting, right? Yeah. It'll be interesting stories to tell. Yeah.
And
also,
I was facetious about my League of Extraordinary Gentlemen comment earlier, but actually, it's kind of what this one does. Instead of literary figures, it's political figures.
Correct. Exactly.
So, and obviously,
one of these...
after World War One, there's a bit of a ripe period of history there for politicking and intrigue and spy stuff to go on. If you're including real world events.
I mean,
But Kingsman is a movie that, like, I really enjoy. I don't spend a lot of time thinking about until the next one comes around, and then I'm just like, oh wow, this thing, which I really enjoyed.
Which might be a problem for it, I think.
Well, I don't know. I think it's got enough good word of mouth to get people into cinemas just because it's so much fun. And I think that's what people are looking for when they want to, MCU movies are great. It requires a lot of fucking commitment on your part. These ones, even with the Golden Circle, the second Kingsman movie, it pretty much stood by itself. Like, sure, if you watch the first one, you'd get some context about Harry. But for the most part, I thought it was a very good action movie by itself. It didn't just... Yeah, you already knew who Eggsy was. You didn't need any kind of background information.
You already know Mark Strong makes everything better.
Exactly. You know who Elton John is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all you need, right? So,
Yeah.
Any other movies? Just a candle in the wind.
And I mean, like for me, the one thing I was surprised I liked in the second one was the introduction of the other agencies, the
Yes.
American agencies.
What are they
I
called?
thought I would.
They were the ranch. They weren't ranchers, but they looked like cowboys,
Oh,
right?
they
Was-
were bourbon makers. It's a
Yeah.
bourbon thing, right? Yeah.
yes.
I can't remember what the agency was called.
They were supposed to
There's
get a kid.
little
They were
bit-
supposed to get a spin off as well, weren't they?
Were they?
I thought they
Oh,
were.
really? I didn't know. Okay.
There's a little hint of that in The King's Man.
Yeah.
Of that. So, but I thought I wouldn't like that, but I guess the casting worked. I think the setup of that secret agency based around random things is really interesting thing that I
Yeah.
enjoy. Yeah, I'm hoping a third one shows up. I'm hoping there's a third one.
They're supposed to be making
Like,
a Kingsman 3. They've now said they're going to
they're
shoot in
making-
September. They're going to start shooting in September
They're
this
starting
year.
soon, right?
Yeah.
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 I mean,
Ideally,
I
they
hope there's
had-
a third agency.
Oh.
I don't know where they're going to go.
Ideally,
but-
they had wanted to do this and the other movie back to back. But yeah, I mean, there's lots of room for different weirdos.
yeah,
Correct.
And also, you know, it also has Gemma Arterton, and you don't see Gemma Arterton in enough big blockbusters these days.
No.
So she's great now.
she's great.
She's fantastic. I like her. Yeah. All right. The King's Man opens December 30th. Great way to wrap up your new year. We do recommend it. Go check it out in cinemas. And of course, talk to us when you do. Up next, we've got a movie that opens Christmas Eve. This one is Don't Look Up, which is the brand new. Okay, so is it Adam McKay or Adam McKay? Do you guys know? Because
He's American. He's not Scottish.
yeah, no, it's just I was
Actually,
just wondering
yeah.
because Scots pronounce it Mackay, right? Okay,
Once
so,
you leave Scotland, you have to leave the I at customs.
okay, yeah. So McKay it is.
I guess.
I'm fairly
it's the-
certain it's McKay. Yeah.
It's the brand new Adam McKay movie. Of course, he did Big Short, Vice, the Anchorman movies, Talladega Nights, the other guys. Also, another director, all of his movies who I really, really like. This one, and wait for it, stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Jennifer Lawrence, Jonah Hill, Mark Rylance, Tyler Perry, Timothée Chalamet, Ron Perlman, Ariana Grande, Himesh Patel, Kate Blanchett, and Meryl Streep.
Oh,
And
Yes.
Meryl Streep.
Tyler Perry
Oh,
doesn't get.
I-
I thought Tyler Perry.
I did
would
say
be out.
Tyler Perry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You mean Skid
I did.
Cudi?
Oh, I missed Kid Cudi.
Scott Muscudi.
So yes, this has an all-star cast, and it is this social satire about two scientists played by Jennifer Lawrence and Leonardo DiCaprio who discover a comet when scanning the skies. Leonardo DiCaprio's professor does a little calculation, and he discovers that the comet's coming right for us. They try to tell the world, but of course the world is completely. Well, one is completely oblivious. The Americans try to politic it, and then Mark Rylance, who plays the worst kind of tech bro, basically the opposite of his character in Ready Player One,
Yes,
he
wants
is-
to monetize it.
No, was it? I don't know if the discourse on that Ready Player One character is going around. Everyone's like, well, hang on, maybe these tech billionaires aren't all beneficial. But he's basically, what was it Ron's Gone Ron had the Tim Cook analog? This is if Tim Cook
Yes.
and Mark Zuckerberg got stuck in the transporter from this fly. So it's
Right.
kind of the Tim
But-
Cook,
but
Tim
with
Cook
the
look.
personality of Elon Musk.
Yeah, a little
Yes.
bit of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's a social satire, and the message is simple, right? Because basically, the world is ending, and it was written before the pandemic, but it's a perfect metaphor for the pandemic. The world is ending, and the message of the day is, you know what? Don't look up. Don't look up. Just look straight. Don't worry. Everything's going to be okay.
I mean, the tagline for this movie is great. It based on events that have not happened yet.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I just love that. Every time I see it in the trailer, I think like I giggle.
Can I say I watched this movie and I didn't know what to expect because the trailers, yeah, I giggled a bit at the trailers and I wasn't sure what to get, but I really genuinely enjoyed it. Like I laughed out loud at a lot of moments, and
Yeah.
for me watching it, I think it was a mixture of laughter, frustration, and anger because of the real world politics it kind of mirrors.
Yeah.
But also, like I was thinking, oh wait, if you want a movie that is the perfect metaphor for everything that is happening in the world, this one does it pretty well without slapping you. Like I kept thinking of how shit the Black Mirror Netflix special thing was last year when they wrapped up 2020, and like
I forgot to
how
watch that.
unfunny that was.
Yeah.
And I thought, because they like ripped from the headlines, but of course they made jokes that Twitter had already made 6 months ago.
Yeah.
But I felt that this one was a lot tighter and more subtle, like making Leonardo DiCaprio the sexy professor guy, and Jennifer Lawrence the crazy "you're all gonna die" woman, and yeah, I found it a lot more nuanced. It worked for me.
I mean, also,
Yeah.
it's just like Jonah Hill is such a shit-eating asshole in this movie. Fuck. It's every
Carries a Birkin bag everywhere.
every self-serving politician worldwide, not just in the US, worldwide. He's got that
Yes.
down, and just the little constant aggressions at Jennifer Lawrence is like she just needs to take him out.
You want to see my SAT scores?
Oh God, it's like I mean, it's funny, but it's also like, oh God, we're all gonna die.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me, it was that point in the film when he no was it he no I think it was the president saying, "Do you know how many end of the world meetings we've had? Since I
Yeah.
came into the office." I'm like, holy shit. Oh God.
But you know that like
There's
so
so
many
much
of those
shit
are
we
also.
need.
I mean, I'm not defending the president in any way, shape, or form, especially not this president. But like, you know how much of those were probably from special interest groups that were just trying to get funding for something. Like they even say like, "What's the ask? What's the ask?" Right?
Yeah.
That's how cynical it is. And
Yeah. What do you want?
We're
Yeah.
ignoring you, and we're gonna gaslight you until there's a scandal, and that scandal just keeps getting crazier and crazier as it goes
Crazier.
on. It's so.
And- No, the whole, don't say 100%. Well, let's just call it 70%. That's
Yeah.
okay. And
It's not 70%. Well, let's just call it 60.
70%.
Okay, but let's go with 60%, and we're good.
I thought Meryl Streep was excellent. Like, you don't often see her play parts like this. I know she's got great range and she does comedy from time to time, but the way she plays President Orlean, it's not quite Trumpian.
No.
It's
No.
a nice mixture between like Trump, Margaret Thatcher, because there's some intellect there as well. And yeah, I thought it was a really good amalgamation for a character. I really enjoyed Meryl Streep. I really enjoyed Jennifer Lawrence, and I don't often say that, but I thought she was very good in this. And but no, for me, it was just there was a Leonardo DiCaprio's character was phenomenally interesting to me as a character, because here was a guy, he is a scientist at heart and he's got this message, but then at the same time he falls prey to the powers of fame, and I thought all of that was very well written and not overplayed at all.
No,
like he's
but I
suddenly
think-
sexy, this hot news anchor wants to sleep with him,
Yeah.
and like
There's a lot of things going on in this film, right? There's a science denial thing, there's a political apathy thing, there's a fame thing.
There's also the two characters get to do the both sides of social media where everyone thinks she's
Yes.
crazy and everyone thinks he's hot.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
But there's even the Himish Patel storyline thing, right? The BuzzFeed thing. You
I
just go
slept with her.
fucking hell. It's so much. And look, you can't be in your mid-20s and not have seen any of this in the
Correct.
worldwide discourse on Twitter or just the internet. You're right. It's infuriating. It's scary. It's disappointing. It's frustrating. It's the world we live in now.
But it's a great balancing act, right? The way McKay
Yeah.
pulls it off. Or McKay,
No.
sorry. I'm now gone all Scottish. I don't know why.
Why are
It's
you
in my
calling
head.
him McKay?
It's
Yeah,
in my
no.
head. Okay. But
He's
the way he
Hogmanay
pulls it off-
infected. Hogmanay's coming.
But it's such a great balancing act because, like you said, there's so many, like, even when Chalamet shows up, like in the third act almost, yet it makes complete sense. It doesn't feel like it's shoehorned. The story just kind of flows with it. There was only one thing that I thought, like, didn't fit, which was when faced with the obvious evidence, people started to turn on the president. And I'm like, well, the real world shows us that doesn't happen. People continue to double down in their ignorance, right?
Yeah.
Which I'm like, oh, look, this movie is trying to give us some hope.
No.
I mean,
I
hope
get
in complete
any hope
hopelessness,
from-
but still.
Yeah.
I
I mean-
don't get any hope from this.
Yeah,
movie.
your message to us when you watched it was like, don't watch this right before going to bed.
And honestly, I watched it before I went to bed, and
You just
I
lay
felt
there.
really-
Lay there in bed.
I felt really down after that. I was just like, "This is terrible."
Yeah,
and because
as he was
because
watching it,
it's so close.
Bahe
You know what I
messaged me, and Bahe just goes, "Oh, this movie makes me so angry. You're gonna love it."
Yeah.
A nice
That-
Christmas
that-
dose of righteous indignation.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I just like I, I have one line that I just fucking love from this film. It's that photo that you've got up, Ian. I think it happens just before this, and 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 I think Mark Rylance' character just sort of blasts into this, the White House Situation Room, and Jennifer Lawrence turns to Jonah Hill and goes like, "Can he even be here?" And then Jonah Hill was like, "Oh yeah, he's platinum member."
Yeah.
Something like, it's like, holy fuck, that's so painfully accurate.
It's not even the member. It's like they talk about the dollar number on his donation, right?
I think he calls it platinum tier or something. So he's paid something. I'm just like, oh my god, that's just the worst thing in the world, but also absolutely accurate. It's hate it.
I can't remember. Did Netflix do a big non-Christmas themed Christmas movie last year? Because they're opening this on the 24th of December, right?
Yeah.
I
I can't. I don't think they did.
I think they might have done it before the pandemic. I have vague recollection of being like, "Wow, that's an interesting opening." I mean, because in the US they open movies on Christmas Day, and it's like, okay, sure. Can't just all go to Chinese takeout places if you want to get out of the house, because everywhere else is closed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it seems like an odd.
It is an odd place for it.
Yeah, although maybe when you look at It's a Wonderful Life objectively, it is kind of bleak from most of it. So maybe it's going to become a holiday classic.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, it's odd thematically, but I guess it's very clever with regards to putting, 5-7 A-list people on a movie when everyone is at home for the holidays, and all the posters on Netflix. It's just going to be different A-listers' faces as you scroll through.
Do we know how it did in the cinema? Because it had a cinema release.
No, but they don't. If it's a Netflix release, they're not allowed to release those box office figures. So we have no idea.
Because it went out on the 10th of December.
Yeah, but this feels like the perfect film for Netflix. It feels like the movie that you're going to sit down on your couch and watch with your family or with loved ones, and like it's a kind of a grown-up comedy that you can watch together.
Because it is like it's the next evolution from Vice and The Big Short, which are the style applied to the historical things to get them to help them be understandable. And this is a hypothetical. This is not a hypothetical, probable.
Probable, yeah.
And to get people I know you saw Jonah Hill on Fallon. Like I have to work through the list of Jimmys in my head. And like he was talking about, at the end of his normal crap, he was talking about like look up climate change. It's about climate. It's about a comet, but it's really about climate change. And he was talking about that. I just saw some people say, I've never seen Fallon so mad in his entire life. Because you're not supposed to preach on there. But it's supposed to, The Big Short got you thinking about what happened with the banks. It's supposed to get you thinking about what's happening with the planet. And I think it works in a way in that this is why nothing's happening.
Yeah.
It's got very astute observations on humanity and every aspect of humanity, right? Whether it's the social media side, whether it's politics, it's all of that's written really, really well in this film. It's also got when you're watching it, it's also got post-credit sequences, so wait for those.
You can, because if they have post-credits, the
5-second rule doesn't pop up.
Skip won't pop, I think.
Yes, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Okay.
Not on Netflix anyway.
But if you actually want to watch the second roll of credits, though, you're fucked, because that's just going to pop back in and out of the corner the whole time you rewind.
Check it out. Don't Look Up. It's very funny. It's a good comedy. It's social satire. You might learn something as well. It drops December 24th, Christmas Eve on Netflix, 4 p.m. Malaysian time. You know what to do once you've seen it. Reach out, talk to us. Goggler MY, our social media feeds. podcast@goggler.my is our email address, and also 012-524-5208 is the number to WhatsApp us on.
Also, we've got an interview with the science advisor coming on of Don't Look Up, Dr. Amy Mainzer, and it's I edited that video. It's really interesting that there's a real seriousness to the situation, in that yes, it's social satire, but Adam McKay really looked into how accurate these things are. he wanted initially he wanted a meteor, and then the science advisor was like, actually a comet's more likely, and he goes, okay, cool, we'll do a
nice.
comet. It's great. Yeah. So.
Did we ask her about the touchscreen? Because it's like it's going back in time, but only the comet changes. None of the stars in the background move. And I was like, "This is what? How does this work?
Ooh,
You tap on
that.
you tap on the you tap on the screen, and it just shows the comet going backwards. It doesn't show anything else changing. It's like, what tech is this? You haven't put in any parameters. You've just touched the screen, and I know you have to get this message across in some way, but that ain't it, Chief. That's weird."
Yeah, he does. I think he was. I mean, this isn't Armageddon or Deep Impact, right? I think just like what Nolan did with Interstellar and Kip Thorne, Amy Mainsler as well is a huge science communicator in the US. I think she's worked with DeGrasse Tyson and stuff. And so, yeah, you can always tell when they get these people in to try and make the movie accurate without making it boring. So you still have your fictional elements, but it's as close as possible to what could possibly happen, right?
Yeah.
Don't look up. Premieres on Netflix. Check it out. Let us know what you think. Our big review for the week is something we've been waiting for a while.
Mr. Epicapagan.
Resurrections. I initially thought they might call this The Matrix Redemption, but they didn't, and it isn't.
Yes, because it's not.
This one is just by one Wachowski, Lana Wachowski, and it's got Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss, who are back, but it's also got Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, who is in every single movie coming out between now and 2023. It's got Jessica Henwick, Jonathan Groff, Neil Patrick Harris, Priyanka Chopra, Jada Pinkett Smith comes back as Niobe.
Is that? Shut up!
No, that's in the.
I know it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be.
Oh yeah.
I saw it on IMDb and I'm like, shut up.
She doesn't do anything. But yeah, but it's not the market. She's got a character poster. Come on.
Yeah.
She walked the red carpet.
Not everyone gets them. The character posters, not the red carpet. I mean, we get red carpets wherever we go.
Yeah, we get red carpet. Yeah. And I think I'm going to echo Ian's review and say that we won't tell you what this movie is actually about, because that might be the one surprise that this movie has. But essentially, what you see in the trailer is probably the best introduction. Keanu looks like he's in the real world, and he's a little confused, and something seems off, just like the first movie.
Our real world, by the way, not the desert of the real. Yeah, because this is
yes,
because they call it the real world in the Matrix is was the Sentinel things. Is it still? We don't know. Everything has to be caveated.
Things happen.
Yeah.
And things happen, and they pull him back in. Is all I will say.
Yeah.
I think you were a lot kinder than I would have been in your review, Ian McNally.
Really?
No. Yeah, I think, and you can read Ian's review on the site, Goggler.my, but only because I think when I was watching it, my biggest frustration with this movie was the beginning. I thought they were, this is a really cool thing they're going to do, and then they drop it, and then there was something else that happens.
Right, which beginning? You mean the introduction in the very beginning?
No, the beginning with Keanu. Once we first meet Keanu and we're introduced to his character and what he does in this world.
Yeah.
And for a minute, I thought they were going to go down the road of being super meta.
Oh, they were going to do Charlie Kaufman. Like they were totally going to go that route.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, and that's a question, and maybe they do. That's a question that's still out there. That's because that's.
I don't know.
When you're watching it,
there are these cool concepts that they just drop almost immediately after the first act.
Yeah.
And Lana Wachowski, at first, I honestly thought, Lana Wachowski figured, you know what? I've read all the stuff people have said about Matrix 1, 2, and 3, and I'm going to have some fun with this one.
Yeah, and I'm going to torch the building as I walk out as well. I mean, that would be where you wanted to go. But, I mean, there's a line, like I said, there's a line in there about their corporate overlords. It's like, well, if we don't do it with them, they're going to do it without us. And it's like, did someone hold a gun to your head?
Yeah.
Look, I mean, my initial reaction coming out of this film was it doesn't feel like it was done by a Wachowski. It really feels like it was done by someone else trying to do a Wachowski Matrix film. My biggest complaint is there's nothing cool about this movie. Ooh. There's nothing. There's nothing that stands out for me.
I was going to get to that in that, like, as much as I dislike 2 and 3, which I just rewatched over the weekend.
3 better than 2, right?
3 definitely better than 2. That architect thing in 2 just anyway.
Watching it
but as
now,
much
I was
as
like, okay, I talk like that sometimes now.
no, but you don't keep saying ergo
No,
every other line.
some of that is it's apropos of his status as a program, but it all makes sense now. I'm like, when you watch the cinema the first time, I'm like, huh? But now it's like, okay, yes, I get it. Like, but it's
Yeah.
also like he should have just said,
We're
you know what?
slightly older. We've read a little more, so
Yeah,
But
he could have
but
just
as much
said
as
Zion as a release valve for the Matrix. Neo, deal with it.
But as much as I dislike 2 and 3, I cannot fault its aesthetic. 2 and 3, it's fucking amazing. Like whether it's the Desert of the Real stuff or even that highway car chase scene is fucking amazing.
Rewatching
Till
that
still
is awesome.
Those twins are the whole Merovingian battle is
I hate when the twins go ghostly. That looks like ass.
Oh, okay.
I think that looks
that
stupid.
didn't age well.
And that there's I think I've sent it to you. There's a description of the fight scene in the Merovingian's house of like it's not the hero's journey, but similar, tying that one fight scene where they're fighting on the staircase and they're picking weapons off the wall and Tiger Chen gets pinned to the wall and stuff like that. Like there's an element. There's someone talked about that in like the realms of mythology or something. I definitely sent it to you. It was like last year, or the year before, and it was all about like he starts off and he's not using any weapons, but as he evolves through the story, he picks up weapons to represent certain aspects of man and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, whoa! But also, there's the weird Merovingian sex cake thing, which is weird.
But the aesthetic was very cool, and it was still like it was cool.
Yeah, and even the original Matrix, the heart of the city, the look of the film, the green, the suits, the tinge, everything, the clash with the real world, all of that is like wow.
And I didn't get that with the Resurrections, and I don't think it's just a matter. And I don't think it's just a matter of like what you said in your review, Ian, about once you've done it once, it's hard to pull it off again. I disagree with that because I think. No, I agree with what you said in your review with regards to the plot, but I think with the level of cool, I think you can do it, and we see.
I don't know.
It's MCU movies.
No, you're missing it. The thing with cool is you can only do cool if you're not trying to be cool.
The
first Matrix was just like it wasn't trying to be cool.
Yeah,
it was just cool. The follow-up movies were trying to be cool, and that's where you get the annoying kid. Or like I said, the ghosts don't work for me. They have werewolves and yet they don't werewolf. That would have been cool if they actually werewolfed. They made that a thing. This movie, it's like we've moved on from the fetish gear, but what's next is just kind of okay, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, but but the problem is it's also just like I can see people dressed like that in the US. You know what I mean? It doesn't.
That's because the Matrix has you. Wake up, man. Wake up.
Sure, I guess, but but nothing of that. It doesn't draw a look.
Yeah, it's not iconic.
Yeah, you don't look at that and go, "Oh, Matrix." You know what I mean? And that's kind of the problem.
But I think that's an acknowledgement of what's going on. Like, there's something going on with what I'll say is the modal in this, and I'm watching that going like, okay, this is like, I mean, I said in my review as well, there's a reason why, more so than the other sequels we've gotten 20 years after the original movies, that this very specifically harkens back to the original. It's like, I didn't like the ending of Ghostbusters Afterlife as much as the rest of the movie because it lent far too much into the original movies as opposed to what had done before that with its own story. The fact that it's yet another giant death ball of death in The Force Awakens, I was like, oh, here we go. They couldn't even maybe build a cube next time. I don't know. A dodecahedron would be nice. But in this, there's reasons for it, and I kind of dug that, and I kind of like the idea of the modal, the kind of what's going on with I have to write that down. Abdul Mateen. Like there's those elements work really well for me, and that like there's an in-universe reason why we're seeing these things, and it's remixing it. It's just the fact that once the reasons behind the remix were revealed, then it's just kind of like that. Then I think I fall into your camp right here, where it's like nice bike chase, but it's no highway chase. Like I said, there's no last flight of the logos, the hammer, and even the fight scenes when they're doing the fight scenes from the original movie, they just don't sing, and that's why, like I said, it's impossible to redefine action cinema twice. Or at least it's very hard. We'll see what happens with the Avatar movies.
And that's the problem, right? I think the problem with this movie is that it points it out in the movie that they want to redefine action cinema.
The
And I
whole
think if
movie
you
is just
left
like
that alone,
it's like if you can see the code of the Matrix, it's lampshades everywhere. They're hanging a lampshade on everything to draw attention
Yes.
to the fact. Like
Yeah.
yes,
Yahya Abdul-Mateen's first the bathroom meeting.
Yeah.
yes,
And it's only when I rewatch the original movies that he's mocking somebody's delivery from the original movies.
Yes.
And rewatching it, I did not remember that he talked that way at all.
Yeah.
I was like,
he does. The whole film.
motherfucker's cool. And then I watched it again recently. I'm like, motherfucker's slow. What the speed up? Why are you?
No, but I thought that it worked in that film, right? In the original,
Yeah.
it worked because there's a cool factor to it. You know,
Yeah.
like you just said, Ian, there's a cool factor to it. Here, you're just like, haha, he's talking because it's cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to mock it, but then I don't do anything on my own. I'm just like, well, then don't. You know, like this movie is the definition of, well, then don't. You know, I just feel like I don't know why I'm watching this
Yeah.
because they don't do it.
Again,
the story doesn't move along.
Yeah, I mean, it does a little bit. I mean, you could, again, if you look at the Lego sequel stuff, it does have, corporate mandated points we need to have. We need to move the story along. We need to set up a new status quo, which will not leave everything in a point where we can't have more stories, right? We need to have more stories. It introduces new characters. It introduces new setups. It also has reasons for beloved characters to be around and continue to be around if we want to make more money out of this franchise. If you want to wring more blood out of this stone. It does all that, but it also is like, I think it's Lana Wachowski saying, I'm done with it. Because I've got brainworms, it did seem to be very much like Evangelion, where Lana Wachowski is like, okay, this is my take on it. Now you can based on this, go fuck it up, right? Because I still, I don't know if it's not like I go to bed thinking about this, but I think maybe The Matrix Reloaded and Revolutions were never intended to be. That first movie, it always goes back to, Biggles or Back to the Future. They weren't really intended to be to be more movies. Right. It's literally just like the adventures continue thing. It's like that serialized Flash Gordon movie thing. It's like give that feel. The adventures continue, but you don't have to see them. And that ending of the first Matrix movie is like, go outside and tear down the
correct
structures.
And it was perfect, right?
Yeah.
And if you read about the making of Back to the Future and Matrix, I think they were so surprised that they even got a chance to make those movies that studios were like left them alone to do it, that I don't think they were thinking about 2 and 3. And I think that's the problem when you try and shoehorn, because casually mentioning Zion in the first film and leaving it to our imagination, the problem came when they had to show us Zion and explain Zion and do Zion, right?
And the underground rail, was to say, the length of that scene is, again, that scene is long, and it's just like people just jumping like this, like just with their arms down by the side.
Slow motion,
and it's like, you have access to the Matrix. Can we not get some propeller heads on here? Can you get some Chemical Brothers? What the fuck are we doing?
I had a problem with those callbacks, right? Because this movie uses a lot of footage from the old movie. Plus, it calls back to bullet time and things like that. And I had a problem with those callbacks because for me, it reminds me of how great that was. And it's like what you say, Ian, about in movies that go, Rebecca Ferguson is the greatest singer in the whole world. She better fucking be the greatest singer in the whole world, because I'm immediately pulled out of the film. But here, when you call back the Agent Smith, I'm reminded, God damn, Hugo Weaving is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, that's the problem, right?
Yeah. It reminds you that there's a better movie out there somewhere called Matrix 1. Yeah.
It's out there somewhere.
And
So it's on. I think it's on Netflix until December 31st.
It's on Netflix.
Until December 31st. They're all moving off because
Are they moving to HBO?
I don't know where they're moving. I think they're already on HBO, but I think someone in Netflix was like, "Can we just extend this to December? Any reason? No reason.
Just
no
2
reason.
weeks.
There's no reason."
And I think that was the problem I had with all the callbacks. I understand the aesthetic and creative decision as to why Lana Wachowski did it, because it was really cool when they were doing the whole meta thing, right?
Yeah, and I said that's I found that the most enjoyable section. Like I said, when they actually called out the corporate overlords, it's again. There were again moments in this movie where I think I was the only person laughing, where it was like,
it was funny.
No, but like there was the funny bits everyone was laughing at, but there was the bits where it was wearing thin, and I wasn't laughing at it. I was still like, I can't believe they're still doing this. It's like it's been half an hour. Fuck, this is nuts. Okay, like I wasn't complaining about it, but I was like, I guess it's where you were still on board and where you're thinking this could ride out the whole way. right?
I wanted it to, man. I was like, this would be a fucking revolutionary
At
movie.
least they'll be doing something different,
Yes,
right?
yes.
I think, and that's sort of my thing with this one.
Yeah, and I think that's what I admired about the movie, that Lana Wachowski went there. Like, she was trying, like, I admire any director who's taking a franchise and trying to do something new and different. And that first act was new and different. It was literally a new take on what you could do with the Matrix. And
Yeah.
then when it went back to
The Matrix.
no, not that. It's just that it
Reloaded
felt
and
like the Matrix-
Revolutions. It basically
Yeah.
it was the first half was the sequel to the Matrix, where you're like I said, the Charlie Kaufman thing, where if the character was called Keanu, like it could have been Keanu Reeves.
Keanu.
Yeah,
Yes.
and could have been talking about a movie he starred in called The Matrix.
Right.
Which everyone is still obsessed about.
Whatever. Yeah. That would have been an interesting.
Yeah.
Isn't that a movie? Is that, sorry, that's Birdman.
That's
right?
Birdman.
That's Birdman
That's
in a way.
Probably that Nicolas Cage movie that's coming out.
Yeah.
The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's expectations for a Matrix movie. But something I wanted to get onto as well is like so much of that section seems done better in the trailer, right? There's a the White Rabbit trailer, the first trailer. There's a White Rabbit section in this where like there's scenes from that trailer where you think you're going to get more of this, or this is part of a larger scene, and they're literally just that scene from the trailer,
Yeah.
like Neo with the duck on his head.
Yeah.
And there's that cool shot of Jessica Henwick flying and bouncing off a corner. Like in the trailer, that looks like the next step of Bullet Time. We talked about this, I think, when the trailer came out. It's like, oh, it looks like amazing, and like it doesn't look like Bullet Time. It looks new. It looks fresh. But in the movie, she's actually falling. It's not like she's doing it on purpose, and then it just kind of loses some of that cool. And some of the editing around that felt like that as well. It's like that cool moment. The cool was just lost by lingering on something a little too long, and not moving it long enough, or flip side of that, not wallowing in the bath with Neo and his duck.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing that I really enjoyed about the film is something that was mentioned too little of. Like, so the first three movies obviously built around this idea of the architect. This one is built around Neil Patrick Harris's analyst, and I like where they were going with that theme of this generation, analysts, feelings, that kind of stuff. The machines are learning.
Did they though?
There's two lines which Neil Patrick Harris says, which felt like that's what they were hinting at, and I was like, oh, that's smart, and then they drop it.
And they moved on. Yeah.
Because it feels like The Matrix has to be three things, right? It has to be cool, it has to be the action movie, and it has to have all that philosophical dialogue.
Yeah.
And so, like, when Lana Wachowski was crafting this, it felt like she went, okay, I've got to hit all of these three things. Only she does it in three separate acts, which don't seem to...
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah,
That first... To go back to that first movie, but the thing we keep reiterating, it, like, that's the movie that someone has been thinking about for most of their lives, right? It's all their influences. It's the simulation, simulacra, and simulation. I can never remember which way that goes. It's like, it's all that. It's the music. Like, I just put on the theme, the score is hard to find for some reason on Spotify, but I found it that it's not the official score. The music is not on there. Sorry, the orchestral score is on there. The music score is no longer on there. It was on there a couple of weeks ago, so I guess it's a Tron Legacy thing happening again. And listening to that, like, is it Sneaker Pimps?
Yeah.
Or no, the Massive Attack song that's on there, stuff like that. And it's like, this is the music they're listening to. This is a world that you're seeing a little bit of. It's the iceberg metaphor I mangle in my review. It's like, it gives you this hint that there's so much more going on here. But all that so much more going on here is the Wachowskis' brains, after 20, 30 years of soaking all this stuff up, they only have a year to soak up more shit to make the next, to come up with the script or the basic idea for the next one before they have to start making it and putting things together.
Right.
And this feels like that as well, where it's like, it's, again, I want to say it's all surface, no feeling. The feeling is there, and it's very much the love story between Neo and Trinity. Maybe that could have been played up more, I guess. But it doesn't. It doesn't have like that depth of world to it. The depth of the world, like if you peel the layers off this, it's the Matrix underneath. Like you have to the Matrix with the in universe Matrix, movies Matrix. It's the Matrix movie is underneath. It's Yellow Pack. You know, it's the own brand version. You go underneath. That's exactly what it is. And then you have to go back to that movie and then go through to get those influences again. You know what I mean? There's no fresh influences in here. It doesn't seem like there's anything they've read in the last 20, 30 years that actually has influenced this movie.
Yeah.
Little bit of a hint with that analyst stuff, but they didn't.
No.
Didn't do
into
anything.
it, right?
Yeah.
But the music doesn't.
I-
The music is not. I can't. Is not the same like amazingness. I mean, they couldn't even do that in Reloaded and Revolutions. Every time I hear that,
Revolutions, yeah.
watching those movies again now, it's like you can almost set your watch by the time the Matrix horns start blaring.
Yeah.
It's like something cool happens, and you're like, ding, 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 ring the bell, get your treat.
But the resolution to this movie, or the how you say the key event of this movie, I think your enjoyment of this movie depends greatly on whether that was your takeaway from the last three films. So the key event, we won't. I mean, the love story between Neo and Trinity, that's not a spoiler, but it's how important that was to you in the first three movies, because it feels like to Lana Wachowski that was very important to her, and so that's why that becomes the driving force of this film. But I have to say, only in hindsight, after watching this movie, did I go, oh yeah, that was an important thing in that movie. Only because of how Neo and Trinity's relationship was resolved in the third movie, which I felt was laughable.
It kind of happens between movies, right? Like they
Exactly.
There's like the Oracle told her she would fall in love with a man, and that man would
Yes.
be the one. And then like
Correct.
they have some fun times when they're not on the ship, and they're apparently on the ship 95% of their lives. So that's what happens in the second one. And then the third one, we all know what happens. And so it's like you never get to see them be a couple. Maybe they're fucking
Exactly.
toxic together. Maybe they would like they'd argue over who's making breakfast, and they'd be throwing pans, fucking making the toaster go on the fritz just to fuck with her. So you never get
But
that.
yeah, so for me, this answers a question that I never had. And that I think was the problem. Because only after watching this movie, I was like, oh, maybe that's a question. Because that was what was hinted at in the very first movie with that was the whole resolution of the first movie, right? With what the Oracle said about love. And yeah, and so I was like, I didn't need that answering. And maybe that affected my enjoyment of this movie. But sure. Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I think I don't think it's gonna do well, guys.
I mean, it's not going to do Spider-Man money. I don't think. I think.
Well, I think it might open number 2. Like I think Spider-Man will hold number 1 box office.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
But this weekend, which is incredible. Like I think it will be the first time that a Matrix movie, like especially after the last 3, didn't open at number 1.
Yeah, but after the last 3, I mean, that's the same thing with the Star Wars movies. People got burned after a while. It's like, you know what? Maybe I'll skip
wait.
Solo.
Yeah.
Wait, yeah. I'll wait to watch it on Disney Plus.
It's like, the fucking, what was it? I can't even remember. I can't even get them right now. It's not Attack of the Clones. It's Revenge of the Sith. I can sit one out. You know what I mean? After that, I'm like, I'm good. Do you want to watch it in the cinema? I think I'd rather, do something more productive, like pull all my teeth out. Maybe we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. And look, and I think it's like what we said earlier, right? This movie is going to be out the next day on a streaming service. It may not be available here in Malaysia the next day, but HBO is going to catch.
It'll be soon.
Yeah, it'll be soon.
We
I
got
suspect
those other
January,
movies pretty
February.
quick. Yeah.
I mean, In the Heights came here pretty quick after too, so I can't see it being. Oh, Dune. I mean, Dune. When did
Dune
get
was
after?
a month, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
3 weeks to a
3
month
weeks
after.
or
How many
Yeah,
times
so-
have you watched it on HBO, Uma?
Another 12 times. You were not expecting that answer.
You were joking, weren't you?
No, I wasn't expecting
Yeah,
it twice. I was thinking maybe once. I was like, maybe it's once, but Jesus Christ, man. When do you sleep?
I love that movie so much. Yeah, so I think you're right. It'll hit HBO. Encanto has dropped. By the time you listen to this, Encanto will be on
Yes.
Disney Plus Hotstar.
Yeah.
So movies are getting released quicker and quicker because they know Encanto's a genius move, right? They want the Christmas crowd, family movie. You couldn't take your kids to see it in cinema 3 weeks ago, so now you can.
And I'm paying for this
And-
goddamn streaming service. Put some goddamn movies on. I mean, this Christmas is going to be.
yeah.
I'm going to watch Ron's Gone Wrong and Encanto, maybe back to back.
Yeah,
Shotgun it.
exactly. And so, I don't know. It feels like I want to say I'm glad this movie exists.
Yeah.
Because I'm a big
Do
fan
you
of the
though?
franchise. Yeah, in the sense that I think there's enough. If you like The Matrix, there's enough in this movie that will compel you to watch it.
Yeah.
Right?
And
If you're not a fan of The Matrix,
I did see
there
that
is
head-
absolutely no reason for you to watch
Yeah,
it.
I did
Yeah.
see a headline that said The Matrix is a comedy, and I thought that was someone trolling, and I'm like, it's right.
I think that's also someone trying a bit too hard because it's not. I mean, it's funny, but it's not a ha comedy.
But it was funny.
that
for
first
a
half
while,
is
though.
real. I
The
mean,
first half was
and,
good.
and
Yeah.
some of it, I mean, some of it, I think maybe shares a little DNA with Don't Look Up, where some of those tech bros are the fucking worst. and the marketing groups. And then, why did the movie have to do Christina Ricci so bad? What the fuck? She just did it for nothing.
Like for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't. I didn't put him in a picture, but we didn't talk about Jonathan Groff much. But
Right. I thought that might be a spoiler.
Well, it's a
That's why I
spoiler, but
avoided talking
I
about it.
enjoyed that bit of it.
Yes.
And I enjoyed him. I enjoyed him. Yes, it's not what you think it might be before, but like, I enjoyed his take.
Him and Neil Patrick Harris I enjoyed a lot. I mean, Neil Patrick Harris is playing Neil Patrick Harris, but it's great to watch, and he's incredibly charming on screen. He's got a presence, and it kind of works as in opposition to Keanu Reeves and Carrie Ann Moss. I thought the characters work really well. So I can't fault any of the performances. I can't fault the CGI. It's just, if you're not a fan of The Matrix, you will a very good example. Even if you're not a fan of Spider-Man, there is so much FOMO out there that you will want to watch that movie because everyone is watching that movie and talking about
More important,
it.
it's the talking about, I think, is the key thing. And I think that's the word of mouth on this, like, I think was what you were getting at earlier. The word of mouth in Spider-Man is like, fuck yeah, but the word of mouth in this is like,
It's noises.
Noises.
For me, watching this made me want to rewatch the original 3.
Which we did. We watched it beforehand. You didn't watch it beforehand, so you had a fresh take.
I didn't do it. Yeah.
Well, I watched 2 and 3. I didn't watch 1 because we watched that a while ago. So.
Right. Yeah, that's the only thing this movie made me want to do with The Matrix. And look, I'd be surprised if they do a continuation of this. I'd be surprised if there's another.
I don't think it'll make enough.
Not for another 10 years. The 10 years, Lana's done. This is the one, the contractual obligation sequel. So, or the contractually obligated album. After this is when they do it with the current crop of Disney Muppets.
Yeah. Well, someone.
Zac Efron is Neo. I mean, that's even outdated. That's not even. He's probably too old already. He's older than Keanu was in the first one, but you know.
No, but I think you're right. I think in 10 years you'll have a fan come along, a fan of The Matrix come along, who's now a Hollywood director, and he'll make something that'll blow our minds, probably, hopefully, because he's got a fresh set of eyes on the film. I think this suffers from. I think your Evangelion comparison, your review was spot on. I think Arno made the one he wanted to 25 years ago.
Then he made the fuck you.
Yeah, then people hated it, so he made the fuck you, and then now he's made something that may not necessarily be his original vision, but it's a little closer to what he thinks the public might want.
But it's also this one's for me. Fuck you.
Yes.
This sandwich has wasabi on it. I don't care if you don't like it. I like it. That's what it is. And I get the feeling this is it. Lana Wachowski's like, how do you make a sequel to The Matrix? I don't fucking know. So what I did was I got this. It's the Charlie Day. Corkboard again. So I took all the bits people liked, and I did them again, and I added some polyfiller in between them and some cock. And thanks for the retirement fund. Now, can you fund Sense? This show I'm got. It's called Sense 9.
It's you nailed it, Ian. Remix. That's what this movie is.
Yeah,
it's the Matrix remix.
I think I've already linked off to that video. Everything is a remix too many times, so I didn't do it this time. But everything is a remix. That's all we're getting these days. The Matrix itself was a remix. It was like taking Hong Kong action that people hadn't seen before, doing cyberpunk better than anyone who actually tried to. The term cyberpunk isn't used that much in terms of The Matrix, like when it came out. It's like it wasn't billed as a cyberpunk movie or the great cyberpunk movie, especially considering it had, Johnny Moronic in it. But like that died in its arse, and everyone who tried to do cyberpunk didn't work. But that was it is the perfect cyberpunk movie.
Yeah, absolutely. The Matrix Resurrections is now in cinemas. Check it out if you absolutely must. And if you have already seen it, reach out and talk to us about it. I think we've had some people already reach out to us on our Instagram because I think they went for the early fan screenings. But yeah.
And it's going up as time of recording, right?
Yes, absolutely. There were sneaks on Wednesdays or on Wednesday already. So yeah. Check it out. Let us know. You know how to get in touch with us. Goggler MY is all of our social media feeds. podcast@goggler.my is our email address. And you can WhatsApp us on 012-524-5208. Until next year, We're wishing all of you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Stay safe through all of this rain and floods, and take care of yourselves and your family. Thank you so much for listening. This has been the Goggler Podcast.
Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad.